Hello, Fatima. So I think we can go ahead and get started. If you haven't already, please do introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us who you are, where you're joining from. We're also really always interested to hear how you're planning to use ROR or how you are using ROR. That's always useful information for new people as well. So anything you'd like to say in the chat, we'd be happy to hear. Here's the agenda for today's call. We're going to do just brief welcome and updates. We'll give you some sort of general overview of some things that are happening at ROR that will happen at ROR. We're going to have a brief couple of curation and technical updates. And then I will tell you a little bit about ROR adoption, what's new in ROR adoption. We'll see the numbers go up in the charts. And then we're going to have two presentations from some featured ROR integrators. We have Joseph Muller here from Janeway of the Open Library of the Humanities. Hello, Joe. And then we have Bessem Aamira here, who is with the Centre National Universitaire de Documentation Scientifique et Technique in Tunisia. Thank you, Bessem, for agreeing to present. I hope my French accent was okay.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. C'est bon. And then we will have some time at the end, usually at least about 10 minutes for open questions and answers. And again, that's a great space where we'd also love to hear about anything you're planning to do with ROR, any questions you have about ROR. We'd love to hear that then. For those of you who might just be joining, here's a very brief introduction to ROR. We are a global community-led registry of open persistent identifiers for research and funding organizations. Many of you are probably familiar with ORCID, who led the way in creating persistent identifiers for people. We are an initiative to create persistent identifiers for research organizations to help improve the quality of scholarly communication metadata around the world. We are not ourselves an organization. We are a collaborative initiative, and we are operated and governed by three organizations: the California Digital Library, DataCite, and Crossref. We don't depend on grants and fees. We are subscribed to the principles of open scholarly infrastructure, part of which means that we can't be transferred to a commercial entity. So we are very committed to open metadata, open governance, and in general, sustainable operations. We hold these community calls every other month. They are open to anyone. They are public in that sense. And then after the calls, we do post the recordings and the slides online. We give you general updates about what's going on at ROR. We invite discussion on topics of general interest. And of course, we always have at least one, usually two these days, demonstrations and presentations from people who are using ROR. We announce them on the ROR Community Forum, which again, anyone can join. We currently have over 800 members of that, and on our events webpage and on our social media and so on. And keep in mind that these are meetings, not webinars. So you are encouraged to ask questions and add comments in the chat. And we usually will be able to respond to those during the meeting. We record these, we post them on our website. If you've registered for the call, we will also send you the slides and recording afterward, usually within a few days of when the meeting has happened. And then we do ask you to abide by our code of conduct, which, like all such codes of conduct, pretty much just asks us to remain collegial during the call. If English is not your first language, we do encourage you to use Zoom's show captions features to display captions in another language. We're always hoping in the future to have better multilingual support in our events and content, although we have great multilingual support in actual ROR metadata. So please do whatever you need to follow along if English is not your primary language. You can always get involved beyond these calls. You can ask for features on our roadmap. You can report bugs. You can post information and ask questions in our discussion channels. One of them is a bit more general, one of them is more technical. We usually use those for announcements, but you're welcome to post questions there as well. And of course, you're always welcome to submit a request to our curators if you want a change to a ROR record or an addition to an existing record. And then we'd always love to hear about how you're using ROR. We have a list of integrators on our website, and we're happy to feature you and, of course, perhaps invite you to present at one of these calls or contribute to our blog. With that, I'm just going to move on to some general updates. Here are a few recent blog posts, plus a little teaser of a forthcoming one. Our wonderful metadata manager, Riley Marsh, has written a very detailed and easy to read post about what exactly happens when you ask for a change to a ROR record. So it's quite detailed. It can be quite a technical process, actually. So if you're curious about how that works, please visit that post and read it. Recently, John Lewis of Cambridge University Press, who often attends these calls, contributed to our blog, telling us a little bit about how Cambridge University Press uses ROR. We have another publisher here today. Obviously, lots of systems use ROR, but we're always pleased to see publishing systems as well as repository systems and other kinds of systems use ROR. And then we have Ted Haberman on the call today. I'm sure many of you know him. He works extensively with data site metadata, and he's written a post for our blog about how ROR IDs can be used for tracking collaborations with specific focus on his recent work with the EarthScope Consortium. So that should be posted quite soon in the next few days, so please keep an eye out for that. We do also, we're getting near the end of the year. Hey, Ted. We're getting near the end of the year, but we do still have a couple of events. And of course, we're looking at next year now. I'm speaking at a Wiley organized webinar on December 4th called Unlocking Hidden Value, Strategic Data Harmonization Across Your Publishing Portfolio. I personally do not have a publishing portfolio, but if you do, you may be interested in how to strategically harmonize your data. So I think that's going to be quite interesting. And one of the things that's going to be interesting about that panel is that there are a few people speaking on it who it's really more of a discussion panel than a presentation. So it really will be from people who have deep expertise in managing very large publishing portfolios with multiple journals. And I think I'm actually very curious to hear from them because that isn't something that I myself have a lot of expertise with. So anyway, invite you to register for that if you're interested in that. And then I did also want to ask you all to maybe make a little placeholder on your calendar for the ROR annual meeting. As usual, we will have about 4 sessions over the course of 2 days. So 2 sessions in 2 days, February 3rd and 4th, 2026. And I'll also mention that at the end of this call, there'll be a brief survey that will pop up that will ask you for your thoughts about what you'd like to see or topics you'd like to discuss, presenters you'd like to see at the ROR annual meeting. We've got some ideas. We are midway through planning, but we'd still like to hear more from you. So please watch out for that survey and give us some answers when the call ends. Our new technical lead, Joseph Rhodes, will be talking a little bit more about this in a moment. But we did also want to give copious reminders to everybody that beginning the week of December 8th, version 1 of the ROR schema and API will be sunset. It will no longer be available. The documentation will go away. The API responses will no longer be available. And so we would ask you to plan for that. I've put in a few stats about calls to our API. And as you can see, I always find it a little, I always have to do the math on this. But assuming that I've done the math correctly, less than 8% of API calls to the ROR API are using version 1. As you may remember, in July, we switched over the default so that if you're not specifying a version in your request, you are getting version 2 data right now. So it's quite a small number of you who might still be using version 1, but we're hoping to provide you with more resources about that and, of course, copious reminders to prep you for that when that happens in December. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Riley, who can just give you some really brief curation updates. Riley?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I wanted to thank Amanda for mentioning our Journey of a Curation request blog post actually from last month. I'd like to note that Amanda did also contribute to the post. And I want to say if anyone has any questions about the curation process, or even if you have more specific questions about scope or something like that, you might be able to find answers in there. And we actually also have some tutorial videos about the registration process in the works, so stay tuned for that. But really quickly, I wanted to highlight some recent projects, some larger projects from the last couple of months. We recently worked with the Korea Institute of Science and Technology Information, KISTI, to ingest approximately 450 organizations with both new and update requests. And we also added quite a bit of domain metadata, I believe about 1,000 records in collaboration with ORCID, and we have more on the way. And then also, as Amanda mentioned, we are sunsetting V1. So in this next release, which is currently scheduled for the 24th, it will be the last one to include V1 files. But that's it for curation updates. Very quick. And I think I'm passing it off to Adam now.
That's correct. Thanks, Riley. Hi, everyone. Adam Buttrick, Product Manager for ROR here to share with you some brief product updates as we round out the year. Okay, so some exciting news on the affiliation matching front. Pleased to announce that our new single search affiliation matching strategy, which we mentioned on our call in September, is now available for use in a preview period. So as a quick refresher, single search is a new affiliation matching strategy that was created by Crossref's now Director of Technology, Dominika Tkaczyk, as part of a collaboration with the ROR team. It's designed to outperform our existing affiliation matching while also being quite a bit faster and more computationally efficient. So for those who like to get a bit more in the weeds on performance, we've benchmarked this strategy extensively using a manually annotated data set sampled from all affiliations in Crossref. So we took all the affiliations strings that are being asserted, did manual annotation of them, randomly sampled. That's what we benchmark against. In doing so, we target a measure, F0.5, where precision is weighted more heavily than recall. We choose this metric because our affiliation matching is used in a largely unsupervised fashion to reconcile many affiliation strings to ROR IDs. So what we want to do is really push down those false positive matches as much as possible. So, but for this measure, F0.5, we see significant improvement as compared to our existing matching. Specifically, we see an improved F0.5 score of 0.913 for single search as compared to the existing matching's 0.88. What this means in practice is that we are able to both very slightly increase our already high precision while significantly improving recall, meaning we're able to find more correct matches for the same inputs. I'm going to do a very quick demo to show this off. Okay, are we seeing? Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to run the matching quick. So we can see right away that the response time for single search is immediately faster than our existing matching, just a slight bit. It varies relative to traffic and caching, those kind of things. But what's really great about single search is that it addresses many of the known failure states of our existing matching. So I don't want to get too in the weeds, but one of these is that the existing matching kind of has an over reliance on parsing affiliation strings on the basis of commas being present. So to break up that string and find the named entities. So when I just remove these and try to rematch again, what we see is that our existing matching fails to match this match, but single search can preserve it. So it's very good at actually identifying and parsing what is the organization or entity name from these affiliation strings. And if we just look at a few more examples, we can see that, again, we have this pickup on recall. So we have these are, again, actual affiliations that are asserted in Crossref. Here we see, again, kind of a standard assertion where there's no comma or split or place name, but we're still able to extract the organization. Here's a really long affiliation where we have, PhD pursuing, professor, all of these departments, and we're still able to isolate the organization. Here's a pretty standard affiliation string. This is actually great for the system where I work, the University of California system. So that comma parsing kind of failure mode actually affects a lot of organizations that include a comma in their name, such as very common in University of California affiliation. So University of California, comma Irvine, we can now correctly handle for that. Again, kind of a standard straightforward one. This is a one that I like and that we actually see a lot is when things get passed into the affiliation matching endpoint from various production processes, they can be accidentally prepended with these XML tags or kind of similar noise, none of which affects the ability of the single search strategies, ability to correctly parse and match the corresponding ROR identifier. So we're super grateful to Dominica, to the Crossref team, for working with us on this collaboration. It's a great example of how much ROR benefits from having Crossref as a parent organization, having the expertise of the data science team. And we have a button to reflect this. So yay, okay.
I love a live demo. Thank you so much, Adam. That was really great to see.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I think we're going to clip that video and put it in the blog post that we're going to put on our blog announcing this. That was fantastic.
Okay,
And Joe,
perfect.
I think you've got some comments about matching affiliation strings when you're speaking as well.
We're going to have to pick up on this and use this tool because it's really cool.
This is very new. Yeah.
Okay, great. So in terms of using this new matching strategy, it's very simple. All you have to do is append and _search to any existing affiliation matching query. So there's no change to the API response format, so you can parse results exactly as before. If you're new to matching, want a refresher, or just more details, Amanda has graciously updated our documentation to reflect, and I see that Riley just linked in the chat. What we're calling a preview period is your opportunity to test out this new matching and see the results for yourself. We'll be collecting any feedback you might have over the course of the next couple of months with the goal of then making single search the default matching strategy sometime in Q1 of next year. As you're reviewing, we do ask that you please report any issues or feedback to our ROR roadmap repository, which Riley linked at the start of the hour. We'll link that in the chat again, but really looking forward to hearing what you think. Okay, that's all from me. I think I'm going to turn things over to Joseph for some brief tech updates.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. Hi, I'm Joseph Rhodes. I started just a couple months ago as the tech lead here, and my updates are not as exciting as Adam just presented, but are reasonably important, especially if anybody happens to be using version 1 of the ROR API. You may notice that we're putting this out a couple times here, that the version 1 of the API will be sunset the week of December 8th. Speaking of that, we'll return 410 responses. Again, there's that link that can give you more information. The other thing that I have to announce is that we're currently going to be pushing the rate limit changes around that are based around using client ID. Those will be pushed back to early January. And this just outlines that using the client ID, there'll be 2,000 requests per 5-minute period. And if somebody submits a ROR API request without a client ID, that'll be rate limited to 50 requests in that 5-minute period. All right, that's it for me. I think handing it back to Amanda.
Yes. Thank you, Joseph. Excellent inaugural presentation in your new role. So for those of you who have been on this call before, I'm usually showing you some charts, which I will get to, about the increasing use of ROR in DataCite records, Crossref records, and ORCID. But before that, I did have at least one quite exciting adoption update to announce. For those of you who follow along with all things persistent identifiers, you might know that Australia is doing a wonderful job of promoting the use of persistent identifiers in research really across the country. We've worked quite closely with people at ARDC who have helped develop and who are helping to run the Australian National Persistent Identifier Strategy and Roadmap. And as part of that, just quite recently, NHMRC, which is, you know, sort of the equivalent of the NIH in the United States, a large funder of especially biomedical research, has announced that they will be asking both the institutions that it funds and using themselves the ROR IDs. So one of the interesting things I think about this is that they will be asking essentially the institutions they fund to provide a ROR ID, but they will actually also be asking individual researchers to include that ROR ID, the ROR ID for NHMRC in the text acknowledgements of funding in publications. And I'm always of two minds about this because it's really not the way that ROR IDs or persistent identifiers in general are designed to be used. They really aren't designed to be added as text strings in these kind of text fields. But to be honest, for funding information, there's often no other option because funding information is not typically collected as structured metadata. It's just a text field where people put a lot of text about funding. So Adam mentioned having, you know, the many contributions that Crossref has made to ROR as one of our operating organizations. Crossref is going to be does already implement funder matching, and they're going to be expanding that. So, you know, rightly or wrongly, having that ROR ID in the acknowledgement section, funding acknowledgement sections of these publications may well help get ROR into more structured metadata in places like Crossref. So just kind of an exciting development. Here we come to the bit of numbers and charts. Crossref records with ROR IDs for affiliations or funders, which are all lumped into the same number, is over 500,000, well over 500,000. DataCite records with ROR IDs specifically for contributor or creator affiliations is well over 33 million. DataCite records with ROR IDs for funders is a bit lower than I'd like at over 600,000. I think I'm going to begin a campaign to get those who are still using funder IDs in DataCite records to switch over to ROR. But there are plenty of people who use ROR IDs for what DataCite calls publishers, publisher elements, which usually means something more like a hosting institution for an institutional repository. It usually doesn't mean scholarly publisher in the traditional sense. But there's over 37 million of those. And then ROR in ORCID, as you'll see when we get to the graph, is going up and up. And there's nearly 7 million of those. And almost, I think it's a very large percentage of new ORCID records that have ROR IDs used as affiliations. It's pretty much the default in ORCID now. Here are the top providers of ROR IDs. This is our little gamification section. I think some people like to have a little healthy competition. I know we have Arthur from APS, which is one of the top providers of ROR IDs and Crossref metadata. The Worldwide Protein Data Bank is based in Japan, and they have been a heavy user of ROR for registering their data sets with Crossref. And you can see the Fond de Recherche du Québec as well is using ROR IDs. And you can see, I swear this is a real number that I got from the DataCite API for the National Institute for Fusion Science, also based in Japan, exactly 30 million. 30 million records provided by NIFs have ROR IDs. Perhaps today it's less even, but always good to see that. And we're in contact with most of these folks, although not all of them. ROR IDs and Crossref metadata, you can see nothing particularly new there. That spike that you see on that graph is the Worldwide Protein Data Bank when they contributed their records to Crossref earlier this year. ROR IDs and DataCite metadata specifically for affiliations, going up steadily. For funders, plateauing a little bit, but still increasing. And ROR IDs and ORCID meta going straight up at a perfect angle. And so with that, you know, we can see that ROR adoption is still increasing. And with that, we would like to turn the mic, as it were, over to Bessem Aamira, who is from Tunisia and who who's going to be telling us about your use of ROR. Bessem?
Thank you, Amanda. I'll share my presentation now. Okay. Good evening, everyone. So I'm Bessem Aamira. I'm senior IT engineer at the National University Center for Scientific and Technical Documentation in Tunisia. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share and to present how the Tunisian DOE consortium is advancing open science by connecting our national research output to the global open scholarly infrastructure, enhancing both visibility and accessibility. So our goal is simple, is making Tunisian research visible worldwide. So the Tunisian DOE consortium helps universities and research centers assigning DOIs to their digital outputs. This means their scientific outputs work become fundable, accessible, interpretable, and reusable, like fair principles. We started in 2024 with support from DataSite Global Access Fund, and now we provide a local non-profit service for academic institutions. By adopting persistent identifiers, we follow the UNESCO Open Science recommendation and build a strong national community for open science. And we are proud to announce that the Tunisian DOE consortium has grown to include now 7 key members, representing over more than 19 higher education institutions and research centers across the country. And since the start of this consortium, and especially with third quarter of 2024, as we made remarkable progress in registering over 30,500 DOIs across 30 active repositories. 8 of these repositories are already integrated under our 2025 consortium membership. And the majority of DOIs are assigning to doctoral dissertation, showing the large higher education sector production, and we see the rise in journal articles and report resource. This result is a clear sign of growing adoption and underscores the tangible impact of the effort of the bending DOIs in Tunisian research ecosystem. So we have made strong progress integrating local repositories with DataSite infrastructure. We're using DataSite API for that, and to have a quick summarize on our systemic approach is to managing Tunisian digital research output with a strong emphasis on automation and adherence to the DataSite metadata schema. As you can see, so this slide presents screenshot from our digital repository, piece.tn, and some e-journals, and illustrating how we integrate DOIs and ROR ID and ORCID ID to the resource landing page. And the landing page include essential metadata about the resource and a link to the full text, helping users to confirm they have found the correct resource and provide the context for its use. It's very important to notice that it's also machine readable to enhance visibility and accessibility. And as a national documentation center, so we care about metadata, and we work to have rich metadata. So we believe that the power of well-structured information to enhance the visibility give us a robust, with DataSite, we have the robust metadata schema, and this is it crucial to take the power of this metadata schema as a paramount importance to our mission. So they permit to connect every facet of the research ecosystem. At the center, we have the research output itself. As the core element, we aim to identify and to track. So research output is connected to related research output by special property, and it enables the linking of scholar materials. Also, we have researchers, so we identify through persistent name identifier like ROR IDs. This allows us to accurately attribute work and track individual contribution. And in line with the to rich and interoperable metadata, we now plan to go further in enhancing our records by linking research output to research via ROR IDs. To support this, the Tunisian DOI consortium has officially expanded to include ROR ID by joining the newly launched regional ROR consortium, officially inaugurated early in November 2025, thanks to strategic collaboration with ASRA. In other side, research organization and publisher are also crucial, and DataCite facilitates their end identification through affiliation identifier like ROR. This allows us to understand the institutional context of research. And we also see research funders often identified through funder registry and via funding reference property of the metadata links to research output to its financial support, enhancing then transparency and accountability. So to go further, we are now taking another steps by integrating persistent organizational identifier, aligning our record with ROR ID. As part of this effort, we are actively supporting the registration of ROR ID for Tunisian institutions and preparing now for bulk inclusion by collecting and normalizing data from universities and research centers in Tunisia. Our strategic goal is to ensure full interoperability between DataCite, ORCID, and ROR, creating a robust interconnected infrastructure that enhances the global visibility of Tunisian research institutions. This screenshot taken from Fabrica DataCite website, providing a closer look to the metadata properties we feel when assigning a DOI through our digital repository. It clearly illustrates how we establish connections with the persistent identifier for organization. And by clicking by including this ROR ID directly with the metadata, we create a robust and machine-readable link between our research output and the affiliated institution. And this practice enhances discoverability and interoperability of our research output. And it allows also systems and services to accurately identify and aggregate research originating from a specific organization and further solidifying the connection we have been discussing. So as a practical exercise, you can use the DataCite Commons tool. It's a tool developed and openly provided by DataCite, offer a powerful platform to explore this previously established relationships and see a concrete user case. Building. So here we see a search and repositories tab for PIST.tn and our National Scientific and Technical Information Portal. alongside the two example of e-journals also appear each with registered DOIs. On the left, the University of Sfax profiles is replaced linked via its ROR ID. And all affiliated repository contribute to the university total research output, which is automatically updated over time. So through DataCite Commons tools, we can aggregate DOIs across institutions using ROR ID. We can generate detailed insights by content type, license, repository, and more, offering a real-time dashboard for open access adoption, and then we gain a powerful lens to analyze and understand the national research output and support evidence-based policy evaluation. So we can see another example of how benefit is to integrate this all PIDs. Now OpenAlex officially integrate DataCite record into its system. This mean whether you use OpenAlex API, snapshot, or user interface, DataCite metadata will be seamlessly included, and then our research output is more visible by this integration. And it's all DOI registered will be now appear, and making research output globally visible, and its benefit also for research community by providing more complete picture of research landscape, openly available and well integrated in such open scholarly system. So look that all PID is included, and especially ROR ID, and can link to the university. Finally, this slide outline key objectives within our border action plan to embrace the FAIR principles for Tunisian research output. That we believe that adopting rich metadata and persistent identifiers are fundamental pillars in effectively implementing these FAIR principles. And we are compliant with open science infrastructure facilitate reaching these objects, as we demonstrate below. So that's all for me, and thank you for listening. For to delve deeper into our activity and achievement, you will find some links and resources to explore at your convenience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bessem. That's really wonderful to see all of that activity, and of course the ROR IDs in DataCite metadata. Really fantastic. I think I can mention that Joseph Rhodes was instrumental in helping to build DataCite Commons. So we're very pleased that that tool, which is very impressive, uses ROR as the basis for its organizational analytics. All right. Well, I'm going to turn things over now to Joe Muller, who is speaking to us about ROR in Janeway. Let me make sure I'm sharing the correct screen here.
All right. Super. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Joe Muller. I work for the Open Library of Humanities. Amanda, could you go to the next slide? I think I'll have to ask you to advance the slides for me. Thank you. Yeah, I work at the Open Library of Humanities as a senior developer. We're a Diamond Open Access University Press or publisher at Birkbeck University of London. And we build the Janeway publishing platform, which is free and open source. We offer it as a hosted service for people who want us to host it for them. But if you have the tech resources, your institution can run it for free. And many of those who do also contribute code back, which supports the community enormously. And some people doing that right now are CDL, California Digital Library, System Media Lab in Italy, and PLUS recently. Next slide, please. So we recently integrated ROR into Janeway. It took us a while, but here are the reasons that we are doing it. It was requested by our user community quite a bit for quite some time. Various reasons to do with our platform meant that it was a non-trivial amount of work to do, but we finally set aside the time and made it happen. And really the reason is, I'm preaching to the choir here, but yeah, the reason is self-explanatory. We have richer metadata. We can put out linked data. It really is all about the URL and the URI, which is why I've put this quote in from Tim Berners-Lee. And yeah, I really just put that in to nerd out about URLs and how great they are, and how wonderful it is that we have these URLs to be our unique names for organizations from ROR. They're unambiguous author affiliations. Even though authors might not know what they are, they benefit from having them in their published metadata. And then, yeah, a couple of knock-on reasons for this. We have more robust research impact reporting. So our library publishers that use Janeway can paint a more evidence-based picture, more detailed picture of the institutions that they support through their publishing activities, and make a case for their own impact when they're doing internal reporting. And then also for those of us like the OLH who are funded through voluntary consortia, library consortia, we can try to make sure that the funding is coming in equitably. So if there is an institution that a lot of their researchers are publishing works in our journals, then using ROR, we can make sure that we are also approaching them and saying, hey, you can contribute to our consortium if you have the funds, and make our work more sustainable. Next slide, please. So this is where I would love to do a demo.
Yeah, I think I've got the full database loaded in here. So just doing a quick search for Birkbeck pulls up Birkbeck ROR. So we display some details there.
Can
That's
you try
fantastic.
Crossref?
Yeah.
Just because I did that before, should be in.
Was there something else you wanted to show, Joe?
Could you try searching for Crossref?
I guess it would be a different affiliation.
Yeah.
Add affiliate.
It's running like a brick on my laptop.
There it is.
There
It's Crossref.
And in this interface, we do want to give people the alternate names, the location, the website, all that information that would help them disambiguate if there are organizations with the same name. So we make sure to include that. I guess we can probably go back to the slides. I don't want to take too much more time.
Cool.
How much time do I have, Amanda?
Oh, you can have another 3 minutes or so.
Sounds good. Okay. So the could we get the next slide, please? I just wanted to mention the technical details for those of you who are interested in that. So we use Python Django for our web application, and that obviously interfaces with SQL tables. So you write your data model in Python, and it translates it into SQL for you. To create that data model in Janeway, we largely followed the ROR schema. So it's very good and robust. And it was almost ready to just slot in once we translated it into the Python model. So thank you for doing that work. And then we also wrote a command line interface for server administrators, because we need to make sure that it's easy for people who are running Janeway independently to manage this process. So there's a command to download the new copy of the ROR data. There's a command to identify the new or modified organization records. So checking the timestamps, checking for new identifiers in the database, and then loading that into the Janeway database. Originally, the first version of this took 60 minutes. We got it down to under 60 seconds. And then we also have a very basic matching routine for legacy institution strings. So far, we've only done a really conservative matching algorithm that just does exact matches, because we wanted to make sure to get the fuzzy matching right. And with this new matching tool that Adam, you showed us. I think I'm going to check that out and see if that could be a really good solution for our users. Next slide, please. Yeah, through future, as I mentioned, we want to build out the fuzzy matching features. We want to make sure that this is usable for press managers because some of them may want to have a hand in deciding the edge cases when things should be matched. We considered maybe allowing them to export and to do it in OpenRefine and reintegrate that data into Janeway, but we haven't decided on that yet. One thing that was tricky in implementing this was that the language metadata in the ROR dataset was hard to integrate into our existing translation features. So we have to look at that again when we want to do that. And then, yeah, finally, reporting tools. We want to build out some more reporting tools that make it easier for press managers to build the reports that they need. And that is all I had. Thank you so much for saving me, Andy, and Amanda, for your patience.
No, thank you. That was great to see. I have one little question, and of course we can open things up to other questions as well. But when you mentioned that it was difficult to incorporate the ROR data because of duplicates in the was that like two different labels, both with the French language tag, that kind of thing?
I think so, yeah. And so it was tricky to know which one to use if you were trying to provide a translation or, yeah, a label that you did know about.
Interesting. Okay, good to know. Any other questions about either the presentations or anything else that we've talked about today? I'm going to wait for an uncomfortable amount of time, just in case anyone does have any other questions. But if not, we can go ahead and end the meeting a little bit early. I do want to remind you that once I end the meeting, there will be a little survey that will pop up to ask you about anything that you'd like to see at the ROR